Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Our obeisances to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada and His Holiness Jai Padaka Swami Maharaj. Today in Gita Mahatmya, the verse goes like this. Gitaschana janati patanam naiva patanam sa eva manusha loke mogha karma karo bhavet. A person who knows nothing about learning and teaching the Gita is a failure in the duty of human form of life. This is Sri Vaishnaviya Tantra Sara, verse 13. So this verse is saying you're successful in your human life only if you have read the Gita, right? And why is human life this important then? Because as no other form of life can you pursue spiritual understanding. Can a dog or a cat pursue spiritual understanding? Can any kind other form of life, insects, worms, germs, can they pursue spiritual understanding? They cannot. They don't even have exposure to anything spiritual. At best, maybe a pet, if it's given some prasadam, then maybe next life they'll get a human form and then they can read these spiritual concepts like Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. But otherwise, they have absolutely no scope of getting relief from that animal life, right? But as humans today in this form, we are given this knowledge, this marvelous knowledge. We're given exposure to so much knowledge about Gita. And if you're not learning it or not teaching it, your whole life is of no value, because as a parent, as a teacher, one should always engage in learning or teaching Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita. There was once a Brahmana in Srirangam in South India. He
Mataji,
yes.
Again, it's dropping your voice.
Okay, let me switch off my video. Okay, I'll try again without the video. So this Brahmana, he was illiterate. Okay, but he had requested a mendicant who was a roaming mendicant. He had requested this person to become his guru, but the sage said, I'm always roaming, so there's no point in becoming your guru then, right? Because I'll not be able to teach you anything. It's better then for you to just learn from the Gita. You need to study from the Gita, right? So this way he said, accept Bhagavad Gita as your teacher.
Even with the video, your voice is...
Okay. I just want to check, is that the case with everyone?
Yes, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji.
Okay, I'll try
Yes.
my mobile network.
Connection is bad.
Yeah. Okay, I'm trying to log in from my phone and give this class now. Is that better somehow?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
Mataji.
Mataji,
Let me
you're
try
sounding
this
better.
way. Yes. Sorry about that technical glitch. Okay, so this Brahmana, he was told by his guru that he should accept Bhagavad Gita as his teacher and learn directly, because the person he requested to be his teacher is going to be traveling all the while. Okay, so he's not going to be practically useful just accepting someone as a teacher for namesake is not no spiritual teacher. They should be able to learn from this person.
So this person said, told to the Brahmana, please accept Bhagavad Gita as your teacher. So this Brahmana, he was illiterate. He did not know how to read, but his teacher, this one who he accepted as a teacher, had instructed him, had given him just one instruction: read the Bhagavad Gita. So this Brahmana, he constantly started reading Bhagavad Gita, but he didn't know how to hold the book even, or how to read the letters. This Brahmana, he sometimes used to be able to catch up few letters of Bhagavad Gita because some education was there, but he could not read the verses very nicely. So this, all the people around used to make fun of this. They used to say, what are you reading? You're illiterate. Don't make a show of like you're understanding everything. So they used to constantly make foolery around him, make fun of him. But this Brahmana used to continue reading, and sometimes there would be tears in the eyes of this Brahmana, though he didn't even know how to hold the book. So Lord Chaitanya was not once passing to Srirangam, and he happened to see this Brahmana crying, holding the Bhagavad Gita. So he casually crossed across him. He said, why is this man crying while looking at the Bhagavad Gita? What is that he's trying to understand? But he can see that people around him are making fun of him. So he approached this Brahmana and said, what are you reading? What is going on? So he said, so Brahmana said, I'm an illiterate and I don't know how to read these words. But sometimes I can read some words, though not correctly. I don't know the correct pronunciation of this word. Sometimes I read incorrectly, but in case, I'm doing this because my spiritual master asked me to read the book. And the Brahmana says, but then, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked, then why are you crying? If you're not able to understand the Srimad Bhagavatam, why do you have tears in your eyes? So the Brahmana says, actually, I only see Lord Krishna. He's sitting on this chariot with Arjuna as a charioteer, and Arjuna is sitting on the chariot. And I can see that he's holding the reins of the horse, and he's looking so beautiful, blackish, while trying to take control of the chariot for Arjuna. And Arjuna, while he's giving instructions to Krishna, sometimes he has to kick the chariot, because to turn left, turn right, he can't always tell verbally to Krishna, sir, Krishna, please take the left, I need to take the right. He can't give instructions so politely all the time because he's in between a war. So sometimes he may have to kick the chariot on the right side, left sides, and this way Krishna gets to know that Arjuna wants to go right or wants to go left, right? So this way, looking at the picture and the relation that the Lord has with his devotees, he has tears in his eyes. So he's saying, as long as I read the Bhagavad Gita and I simply see beautiful features, that is all I want to know, that the Lord is taking care of everyone, his devotees, and he's taking care of Arjuna so beautifully. So when Lord Chaitanya heard about this, he actually hugged this Brahmana. He said, indeed, you're like the authority in the reading of Bhagavad Gita. Whatever you know, you may not know the words of the Bhagavad Gita, you may not be able to pronounce the Bhagavad Gita, but you know the essence of Bhagavad Gita because you understand service to Guru. You understand the relation or mood of the Supreme Lord, and that way he knows what the Bhagavad Gita stands for. So this way, Krishna is saying, while reading Bhagavad Gita, don't worry about how accurate you are, how accurate your pronunciation is. All these are pronunciation, the accuracy of pronunciation, these are all material things. What matters is our honest effort to understand this whole principle of Bhagavad Gita. What is a Bhagavad Gita trying to say? So try to make an effort to be as close as possible to the possible pronunciation. But if you cannot, that's still okay, because what matters to Krishna is your honesty, your endeavor. So put endeavor to learn Krishna, to teach, learn Bhagavad Gita, to teach Bhagavad Gita as much as you can. Even if you're not able to say the verses properly, you can very well speak the philosophy to your family. You can tell them that this is what Krishna says. You don't need to know the verses word to word. That is still okay. You can still nicely summarize what you learn in this class and talk about it to your family. You can be teacher to your family, right? So this is what Krishna is saying in this in this conversation. Okay, let's move on to chapter 13. The chapter name is Nature, Enjoyer, and Consciousness. So this is the beginning of yoga. Okay, Jnana Yoga. We is my voice still breaking or is it okay?
It's okay, Mataji.
Better,
It's okay,
Mataji.
Mataji.
Okay. Okay. So Jnana Yoga, we gave a brief glimpse of Jnana Yoga in chapter 2, where Krishna introduced us to the fact that we are not this body, we are the soul. And then he gave us a lot of characteristics of the soul. Soul cannot be cut, cannot be dried by air, cannot be moistened in water. So he gave a lot of these features. So we were briefly introduced to the soul. Now here we are getting a little deeper into the whole Jnana Yoga. Now what does Jnana Yoga involve? It's a study of material nature. Material nature is nothing but Prakriti. So Prakriti has two main gunas. It's called Sattva Guna, Raja Guna, and Tamo Guna. So there are three characteristics of nature. Okay. And then we understand who is the Purusha or the enjoyer, and what are the how are the three gunas going to affect each of us, right? And then further in Jnana Yoga chapters, we try to understand what is our body made of, what is our subtle body made of, how is the soul passing from body to body, what's the science behind it. And hence, because we learn a lot of theoretical things, this is also called as knowledge, Jnana Yoga. Okay, so this is how we start. So what happens is I have some few basic fundamental jargons he puts out to Krishna and says, what are these terms going?
You want to share the slide with me and I can share it?
Hold on, Mataji.
Yeah, now it's coming.
1 second. Sorry, I seem to have a bad network issue today.
We were briefly able to see your screen, Mataji.
Yeah, like my network got disconnected there, so I'm back
Okay.
now.
Okay.
Are you able to see my screen now?
No.
No, it's coming. Yeah.
Yeah. We see.
Now
It just came and
it's gone again.
Okay, verse 1. Okay.
May I try, Mataji? Hare Krishna.
Yes, go ahead.
So Arjuna Uvacha, Bhagavad Gita 13.1, Arjuna Uvacha, Prakritim Purusham Chaiva, Khetram Khetragya Mevacha, Etadut Muchami, Jnanam Geyam Chakeshava. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Arjuna said, "O my dear Krishna, I wish to know about Prakriti, nature, Purusha, the enjoyer, and the field, and the knower of the field, and of the knowledge, and the object of knowledge." Hare Krishna.
So Arjuna is asking, what is Prakriti? Prakriti is nature. Purusham is enjoyer. Kshetram is the field of activity of the body. Kshetragna is the knower of the field or the body. Okay. Jnanam is knowledge, and Neyam is object of knowledge. So he's asking these, what do these 6 terms mean? Now, Krishna, through this whole chapter, is responding to this question. He's explaining these each terms, 6 terms that Arjuna is asked for. Okay. Now, does anyone want to try verse 2 and 3?
I can, Mataji.
Go ahead.
Shri Bhagavan idam shariram kaunteya kshetram iti abhidiyate etadyo veti tam prahuhu kshetrajnana iti tadvidah kshetrajnanam chapi mam viddhi sarvakshetreshu bharata kshetrajnaya kshetrajnayorjnanam Yattajnanam matam mama. Hare Krishna. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, this body, O son of Kunti, is called the field, and one who knows this body is called the knower of the field. O son of Bharata, you should understand that I am also the knower in all the bodies, and to understand this body, it is called, and its knower is called knowledge. That is my opinion. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay. So in this 2 verses, Krishna has responded to many questions of Arjuna. In the first part of verse 2, he's saying, kshetra or body. Okay, kshetra is nothing but your body. The material body that we possess is kshetra, or the field of activity of the conditioned soul. Okay, so that is kshetra. So every conditioned soul is entrapped within that, entrapped within a material body. So as per the previous, whatever previous karma they had, as per whatever desires they had, they have got a certain body in this life. So this body is the field of activity or kshetra. Now, in the second part of verse 2, Krishna is describing kshetragna. What is a kshetragna? Kshetragna is nothing but knower of the field. Now, there are 2 knowers of the field. There are 2 souls within us, the individual soul, which is a Jivatma, and the supreme soul called as the Paramatma. So these souls always know the body. The soul is not the body and is the owner of the body. So we need to remember that. So the soul always know what the body is doing, what are the thoughts within the body, what are the desires within the body. So the soul is the knower of the body, or the kshetragna. So there are 2 types of kshetragna. There is the Jivatma and the Paramatma. Both of them are kshetragna. Okay. So in verse 3, Krishna is saying, the Paramatma is also the Kshetragna, or the knower of all the bodies. So how to understand that both Jivatma and Paramatma are the knower of the body? We'll take an analogy for that. For example, let's say there's a owner of a landlord, okay, who has 5-6 apartments. He owns 5-6 apartments, and there's a tenant. In each of the apartment, 5 tenants are staying, okay? And in every tenant, will know just their apartment, correct? So one tenant will be staying in apartment number A. They'll know which side the sun comes from, how many balconies, which side is the bathroom, which way is a good ventilation going to come on. So they know their singular apartment. Similarly, apartment B, the tenant there will know about the features of that specific apartment. But the landlord, who's the owner of all five apartments, will know exactly of singular apartment, all 5 of them, what is where, because he would have personally stood there, made sure this is set up here, that is their window is set up in this direction, balcony is in this direction, staircase in this direction. So he would have personally stood there and monitored the construction of each apartment. So a landlord knows all the 5 apartments. Similarly, a Jivatma will just know your individual body, right? They'll just know this body. But Paramatma is the owner of all the jivas. He's there in every single jiva. So he understands every single jiva or the living entity within the material world. So this is how we can say that both Jivatma, while the Jivatma knows just this body, Paramatma knows all the living beings and their body. So both of them are Kshetragna. Okay. And in the second part of verse 3, Krishna is saying Jnanam means perfect knowledge. And what is this knowledge? It's the knowledge of the body and the soul. So that is Jnanam. So Krishna has responded to 4 of Arjuna's questions in first 2 verses, second and third verses of chapter 13. Okay. Now, this is an example I said of the landlord knowing all the apartments versus, so this way, Krishna, who is the Paramatma, he knows every jiva. And that's how Paramatma also becomes the Kshetrajna of all the living beings. A similar example is of a farmer. Now, a farmer will have one singular land, one property, and they'll know what seasonal vegetation, what seasonal fruits has to be grown in that farm for that season. They'll know their farm, like which part of the land gets good water versus not. So, what kind of crops to grow here versus somewhere else. So, but a king will have many lands like this, right? So the king will know everything about the land, and not just about what to grow, but also he'll know about, what kind of products are in famous outside the country, kingdom. So what kind of product should be exported versus imported. He'll have all that other knowledge, additional knowledge also. So that's a similar example of Kshetrajna, the knower of everything versus singular items. So Jivatma is a person who knows just one thing, one body. Paramatma knows many jivas. And further, there's a nice pastime of a person called Kanakadasa. Does anyone know who is Kanakadasa? Have you heard about Kanakadasa?
Yes, Mataji.
Where have you heard him about?
Ma'am, about Udupi temple story.
Yes, Udupi temple. So, I'm going to put all of you on mute. Okay, so so there is this particular pastime. You can still hear me fine? Sorry, I need to keep checking.
Yes.
Okay. So Kanakadasa, he's coming from this lower rung of society, a family or a tribe that was primarily focused on taking.
We lost you, Mataji.
Now,
Yes.
can you hear me now? Okay.
Yes,
Yes,
Mataji.
So
Mataji.
Kanakadasa comes from a tribe that takes care of goats, okay, livestock. So his family is called as Kuruba. Okay, Kuruba in Kannada means people who take care of livestock or goats or sheep like that. Okay, so this one time, he approached a teacher called Vyasa Tirtha. Vyasa Tirtha was very famous back in the Madhva Sampradaya, Udupi region back then. And this Vyasa Tirtha, when he saw Kanakadasa for the first time, he recognized that he is a good devotee of the Lord, right? And why Kanakadasa approached Vyasa Tirtha? He wanted to learn from this guru, okay? He wanted to understand spiritual science from this guru. So, but this Vyasa Tirtha had a lot of other students who were from high class Brahmanical family, and they were not in favor of this Vyasa Tirtha accepting a low class born as a student who will sit and study with them. Okay, so with that, and this Vyasa Tirtha understood the mind of the other students. So just to make sure he understood, he could tell the other students why is Kanakadasa such a elevated devotee of the Lord. He put them through a small test. Okay, he said, okay, I'm going to give you all one banana. Okay, what you need to do is tonight you need to eat banana in such a place that nobody has seen you eating this banana. Nobody should see you eating this banana. Tomorrow I'll check with you how you ate this banana. So tell me in the morning how you ate this banana. So everyone was given a piece of banana, and everyone happily took, and they thought of a nice place where to hide and eat this banana. Some went to a very dark corner of their house. some went in the deep of the night, they went to some very remote place and ate this water and ate this banana. So very innovatively, each devotee or the student, they found a nice place and ate their banana. Now, next day, very happily, all of them came back to the class to tell their teacher that we so nicely found a place and we ate this banana. But Kanakadasa also came there, but he still had the banana in his hand. So Vyasatirtha asked him, how come you didn't have the banana? You couldn't find any place where nobody was seeing you. So Kanakadasa said that actually there isn't any place where the Paramatma is not watching us. Paramatma is constantly watching us. So how can I eat a banana without the Paramatma seeing me, right? And when the teacher Vyasatirtha heard this answer, he was so happy with Kanakadasa that he instantly accepted him as a student, and rest of the students as well. They understood that the actual science of devotion was very nicely understood by Kanakadasa. So they did not have any problem from there, from accepting Kanakadasa as one of them and study with them. Okay, so this same Kanakadasa, though he was now under the tutelage of Vyasatirtha, he was well educated, but outside the scope of that ashram, people still looked at him as a low class born, so a low born person. So once it said that this Kanakadasa went to Udupi temple, and the priest there saw him and said, no, you're a low born, you can't enter the temple, right? And that's okay. Kanakadasa said, there's no reason to fret because the Lord is everywhere. So what he did, he went behind the temple and he started praising the Lord. He started singing glories of the Lord. And the Lord was so impressed listening to him that in the center Garbhagudi where the Lord was standing, the Lord turned 180 degree and looked at the backside where Kanakadasa was standing. He created a small hole there. Krishna created a small hole in the backside of the wall, and from there he gave darshana to Kanaka. So that Kanakana Kindi, the window is still there in the Udupi temple. So it said that whenever a new person comes to take a responsibility of their new post, okay, Kanaka that Paramatma is everywhere. There's no escaping Paramatma. So this way, he established the fact that Krishna is everywhere. Now let's go on further to understand the body, Kshetra. Krishna is explaining the Kshetra a little further. In verse 6 and 7, is saying gross body is a material body. Okay, so material body has 5 elements, is made from 5 elements, which is earth, water, fire, air, and ether. Okay, so these are the 5 elements. Then further it said there's 5 knowledge acquiring senses. What are these knowledge acquiring senses? So you can see that there are 2 types of senses. One is knowledge acquiring, and then there is a working sense. Okay, knowledge acquiring sense are your eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin. Okay, so because we can see from the eyes, we can you can read from the eyes, you can get knowledge by the process of hearing from the ears, you can smell the objects around you, and from there also you can get some knowledge about what kind of smell it is. Is it a good smell, bad smell? Knowledge can be acquired like this. Tongue also, taste of things, you can understand by tongue, and then skin by touch, you can get knowledge. So these are knowledge acquiring senses. Then there are working senses like your voice, your legs, your hands, anus, and genital, right? Different 5 types of working senses. Then there are sense objects. With the eyes, what do? You see a form. So your sense object of the eyes is a form. So sense object of a ear is a sound. Sense object of a nose is a smell. Sense object of a tongue is a taste. And the sense object of the skin is touch. Okay. So there are 5 sense objects. And further, he's saying there are 3 items in the body has subtle body. The subtle body is made of your mind, intelligence, and false ego. There are 3 items there. Okay. And then there's a final part, which is an unmanifest stage of 3 modes. Why is it called unmanifest stage? Think of all these 24 items listed here is what are the basic fundamental elements from which material body created or born from. Okay. When the unmanifested, because before the material objects are created or living entities are created, this is still unmanifest. It's unmanifest in Mahavishnu. Okay, from this unmanifest stage of 3 modes, which is Sattva Guna, Raja Guna, Tamo Guna, it all comes from Mahavishnu ultimately, right? So till material world is created, they are all manifest. And once the material world gets created, they get manifested into 3 gunas. So originally, these 24 items, which are called as a field of activities, okay, 24 items, this is what creates a material body. Okay, but remember there's a material gross body, which is made of 5 items, and the gross body has knowledge acquiring senses, working senses, sense objects. So all these knowledge acquiring, working senses and sense objects come within your gross body. Then there's a subtle body. Subtle body has 3 things: mind, intelligence, and false ego. Okay, and then there's a final part, which is an unmanifest stage of 3 modes, which is called as pradhana. Okay, pradhana. So everything comes from the modes of material nature. Everything that manifests comes from this interaction of this pradhana with the sense objects and the material objects. So that's how you understand it. Let's understand it a little further. Okay, so our body has 3 layers. You know, there's a gross body. Okay, gross body is your external body as you can see it. You understand gross body, I suppose. Then there is the soul. We have been talking about the soul for quite some. Soul is both your jivatma and paramatma. Okay, now there's a in between layer called the subtle body. Now subtle body is your mind, your physical mind, your intelligence, and false ego. These 3 put together make your subtle body. So what happens when a person dies? They lose the outer cover, they lose the gross body. So then they are just left with their subtle body, which is your mind, intelligence, false ego, and they're left with their soul, right? So that's why ghosts have a subtle body. They don't have a gross body, but ghosts have a subtle body. And remember, even ghosts, they have desires. Where do these desires come from? They have desires that I want to live in this place. I want to be with my people. I want to hurt this person. Where do the desires come from? Because the desires are coming from their mind, because they carry the desires from one body to the other. Okay, it's a very complicated science. I'm just beginning to explain. Praveen Prabhu, I know you have raised your hand, but just hold on to that question till I finish the questions. Finish the topic. So what happens when death comes? All our subtle desires, they dissolve into the mind. Okay, so all the desires that you've accumulated from various lives, this life, they get carried away with your mind from one body to the other. Okay, so the subtle body carries because it's transferred through the mind. In other words, the subtle body is actually carrying the desire from one body to the other. So this is the reason why different people have different desires. Many lives. Think of 2 twin brothers who are born in the same family. They might be born at the same moment with few seconds apart, but they still have different kind of desires, different kind of karma, because it's coming from their previous desires, their previous karmas, their previous impressions of their previous lives. So this mind is different from the mind of the soul. The soul has its own mind, and this subtle body has its own physical mind. Okay, so you should understand that mind is a subtle. It's not like a physical thing that is attached to the body. Your intelligence is subtle. Your mind is subtle. Your false ego to say that I am this body is also subtle. That is also a kind of desire to say, I own this body, I own all my things around me. That is false ego, right? So all of this is subtle body. So we need to transcend, in other words, we need to transcend our experiences beyond this gross body, subtle body, to be able to experience ourselves to the level of the soul. Okay, eventually when you leave this material body, you leave the subtle body as well, right? When I say leave the material body, not just this earth, when you're eligible to go to Goloka, that is when you leave your subtle body as well, and then you go back to Goloka with just the soul. So this is how you understand three aspects of subtle body. Can someone read verse 19, please?
Mataji.
Okay, I'll read it.
Yes,
Yes, go ahead.
Vidnyaya madbhava yopapad. Translation. Thus, the field of activities, the body, knowledge, and the knowable have been similarly described by me. Only my devotees can understand this truly and thus.
Okay, so before we go to this verse, I just want to let you know from verse 8 to 12, Krishna has listed about 20 qualities. Okay, what are these qualities? The qualities required to attain knowledge, absolute knowledge. What are the qualities that one requires to even get to the stage of absolute knowledge? He says some of these qualities are humility, pridelessness, non-violence, tolerance, simplicity, serving a guru. Okay, so like this, Krishna has listed about 20 qualities, and Krishna says only these 20 qualities get you to the absolute knowledge. Otherwise, any other qualities will get you to ignorance. Okay, so when you have the time, just go through verse 8 to 12. That will help you understand what are those qualities Krishna has. And if you have any specific questions on those qualities, I can answer it on the chat as well later. Okay. Now, in verse 19, Krishna is saying, thus the field of activity, the body, knowledge, and the knowable has been summarily described by me. Only by devotees, my devotees can understand this thoroughly and thus attain to my nature. So, Nayam, object of knowledge, is described over here. Okay, the real knowledge is knowledge of Jivatma and Paramatma. So these verses describe that the soul of Paramatma has the soul or Paramatma. It's the soul has its own hands. It has its own legs. So, and the Paramatma's hands and legs are spread everywhere. Paramatma has many eyes. Paramatma, because Paramatma is sitting inside every jiva. In that sense, Paramatma has so many eyes, so many hands, so many faces, ears. And this way, Paramatma exists everywhere. He's all pervading. Okay, while Paramatma is devoid of material senses, his senses are spiritual. It's not subject to material senses. And he is the maintainer, master of all the three modes. And he is not subject to these material modes. He's not under the control. He's above and beyond these three modes. So this way, the nature of Paramatma is further explained in some of the following verses. So this way we understand that eventually Krishna is saying in this verse, perfect knowledge can be understood only by people who offer unalloyed devotional service, or is unalloyed devotees. Only they perfectly understand absolute knowledge. Okay, there are many people who say that eventually the Jivatma and Paramatma, they merge and they become one. There's no difference between Paramatma and Jivatma. But as devotees of the Lord, we don't buy this Advaita philosophy. We say that even if we go back to Krishna after death, is still the service. Kind of absolute knowledge is given by only to a devotee of the Lord. So we are being in many ways led by material consciousness. Often we are thinking, how to overcome our material duties, all the material challenges. Krishna is saying transcend all that and focus on Krishna, and that way he'll be able to, if we transfer our consciousness to Krishna activities, then slowly Krishna will become present in all our understanding, in all our knowledge. So Krishna will be everywhere, will become Krishna Maya that way. So focusing on understanding Krishna, understanding his absolute knowledge is what this chapter is all about. So net, what he's saying till so far is that for a devotee, only he can understand the perfect knowledge of Krishna, and hence the right way of getting this knowledge is to hear from the right source. Okay, now let's read verse 20.
Can I, Mataji?
Yes, please do.
Prakriti Purusha. One second. Prakriti Purusha are beginningless. Prakriti Anadi Ubhav Api Vikharascha Gunamschaiva Vidhi Prakriti Sambhav.
Okay, let me try that, Mataji, and then you can read the translation.
Yes.
Prakritim purusham chaiva vidhi anadi ubhavapi vikaram shagunam chaiva vidhi prakriti sambhavan. Go ahead.
Yeah. Translation: material nature and the living entitles should be understood to be beginningless. Their transformations and the modes of matter are products of material nature.
So Prakriti is, we understand, is under the control of Lord Krishna, right? Krishna, Prakriti is his inferior energy, right? So since it's coming from Krishna and Krishna is eternal, hence this material nature is also eternal. It is beginningless. It doesn't have a beginning. It was always there from the beginning, right? So it unmanifest for some time. Right, in the unmanifest form it is called pradhana, and when they and at this point they rest in Mahavishnu, and while they are still unmanifest, and after that later when they manifest in the material world, they then become the three gunas. Okay, so when it is manifest, depending on what kind of guna we work under, Prakriti will give us that kind of body. So depending on whether you're working in Rajaguna, Tamaguna, or Sattva Guna, that kind of body you tend to carry from one life to the other. Okay, the master, the controller, enjoyer, proprietor, and maintainer of the entire cosmos. So Jiva, in other way, when you say Purusha, okay, the ultimate Purusha is Supreme Lord. But because as jivas also we have the tendency to enjoy, we want to enjoy. So sometimes even Jivatma is called as Purusha, but the actual Purusha is the Supreme Lord alone, and both of them are eternal and beginningless. Both Prakriti and Purusha are both beginningless. Okay, let's read verse 23.
Mataji screen has not changed.
Not changed. Not changed. Okay, one second.
Yeah, no, it's May I, Mataji?
Let's go ahead.
उपद्रष्टानुमन्ता च भर्ता भोक्ता महेश्वरः परमात्मेति चाप्युक्तो देहेऽस्मिन् पुरुषः परः. Translation: Yet in this body there is another, a transcendental enjoyer, who is the Lord, the supreme proprietor, who exists as the overseer and permitter, and who is known as the super soul. Hare Krishna.
So not in this body of ours, not just the Jivatma, there's another being as well called the Paramatma. And here it's defined that the Paramatma is overseer and permitter. Let's try to understand these two words, overseer and permitter. The example or the analogy given by Srila Prabhupada in this regard, he says, think of two birds who are sitting on the tree, okay? And one bird, he's referring this one bird as Jivatma. The Jivatma is happily enjoying the fruits of the tree, okay? And it's busy eating the fruits and enjoying its life. The second bird is nothing but Paramatma or Krishna. The second bird is constantly watching this other bird eat the fruits of the tree. So both of these birds are there, although they are on the same, they have the same quality, right? One is captivated by the fruits of the material tree, while the other is simply witnessing the activity of his friend. So Krishna is the witnessing bird, and we are that eating bird. Okay, so our soul is qualitatively same, but still one is the master and the other is the servant. See the difference? So forgetfulness of our relationship with relationship by the conditioned soul is the cause of why we keep changing our body from one body to the other. So the jiva soul is struggling very hard on this tree of the material body, but as soon as he agrees to accept the other bird as a supreme personality master, just like Arjuna agreed that Krishna, he voluntarily surrendered to Krishna, and Krishna started taking control and instructing Arjuna. Similarly, if we accept the Supreme Lord to be the absolute controller, then Krishna takes control. Till then, he lets material nature take control of us. So material nature is working under Krishna's supervision. We should understand that the material nature is working for Krishna. This indicates a more active role. So, which means to say Krishna is not just the overseer, he's also the permitter. How to understand? Because he gives the material nature permission to execute our desires. Example, let's take an example, like a judge. Let's say he's given a life term to a prisoner. Now this role of the judge, after that, he has already it's not limited to just overseeing the performance of this jailed person, right? Sometimes if this person who's imprisoned, he shows good behavior, then the judge can reduce their statement. Or if they continue to show bad behavior, then they can make the imprisonment more aggressive or extend the time of their imprisonment. So all can happen. So he is also the observer and permitter. He's the one who extends or allows certain punishments to be given. Similarly, Krishna is the supreme judge. So think of this material world as a jail. You come to the material world not to enjoy, but to live through your sins of your past life. So all the people who say, I'm in so much stress here, so much anxiety, that is the nature of the material world. We are here to dissolve our sins as much as possible. Or if we continue engaging in material nature, then we are going deeper into troubled behavior, right? So if you are consciously avoiding sinful behavior, then Krishna will say, okay, stop. You can now stop living in this jail. You can come to Goloka. But if you continue living the same kind of life, sinful behavior, sinful activities, then Krishna will say, no, you're not ready yet. So you need to continue living in this material world. So we'll go through cycle of many lives and deaths after that. So many times we'll have to come back, take birth, die, take birth, die. So we'll go through billions of those life cycles, right? So that is how Krishna is not just the overseer, he's also the permitter. Now, you might have a question, but if Krishna is a permitter of all the action, then why does he allow bad things to happen in the world? Why does he do that? So while we understand this process of karma or action, we need to understand any action that we perform in the material world. There are three actors. First one is the Jivatma. The Jivatma is the person who triggers a cycle of action. How? By having a desire in their heart, right? They'll say, I want to kill a person, let's say. Okay. So person A wants to kill person B. So how did that desire come in the heart? It's not suddenly there. The desire doesn't happen suddenly. It might be that in some of the previous life, person B has killed person A. And hence person B has to go through the karma of getting killed by person A now, because person B has killed person A in the previous life. Now person A has a desire in his heart to say, I hate this person, I want to kill him, right? Now Krishna, you have put that desire, okay? The person A has that desire, and if you have the karma to execute that desire, Krishna will approve that desire. How does that work? Because accumulating the karma is not, one life to the other. You have to live through many lives to even accumulate the kind of karma to even have that desire fulfilled. So a course of events, this person A will come in front of person B, and if the person A still has a desire to kill him, then Krishna will approve that, and material guna, material nature will facilitate that action. Material nature is actually the one who's executing the action. So material nature will give us anger, it will give us so much rage within us, so it will put us in rajaguna or tamaguna, and with that guna we'll execute the desire, right? This desire is what triggers the action. It's not Krishna or it's not Prakriti. The Jivatma is putting out a desire. Krishna will approve the desire once you have enough karma accumulated to execute that desire, and Prakriti will execute the desire for you. Okay? This does not just happen with bad things, even things that every day, it's movie actors and you say the person looks so beautiful, I want to look like that. Or you look at Ambani's and say, I wish I had a house at least half as big as his, or a car that is if not Rolls Royce or some Porsches, at least some nice car that 20-30 lakhs is enough for me. You might have such kind of desires. So even these kind of desires, when you have it, these desires lead to many you go through many lives to accumulate the karma to execute that kind of desire. Eventually that desire is made. You might have made a desire long time back that I need to have lovely beautiful hair, and now after 20-30 lifetimes that is even short. But Krishna says, okay, finally you have this accumulated enough karma to have that desire. Now you have very beautiful hair. That's right. So every desire you make, could maybe positive, negative, ultimately that means you have to go through many lifetimes to execute that desire. So desires is what creates a cycle of life and death for us. Limit our desires. Our focus, our desires for Krishna. So Krishna this way in this verse is understood, explained as he's the overseer as well as the permitter. So let's summarize. So far we understand that Prakriti is material nature, that is eternal. Purusha is the supreme lord, he is also eternal. Kshetra is our body. Body is not eternal, it's temporary. Kshetragna is your soul. Soul and super soul both are Kshetragna. They are also eternal. Jnanam is understanding of the body and soul. Body is Kshetra, and Kshetragna is soul is Kshetragna. So it's an understanding of Kshetra and Kshetragna. Now, Gneyam again, Gneyam is knowledge of the soul and super soul. So this is how Krishna answers the 6 terms that Arjuna asks about. Okay, let's read this last verse, 26.
May I, Mataji? 13.26. Trutiparayana. Translation. Again, there are those who, although not conversant in spiritual knowledge, began to worship the Supreme Person upon hearing about him from others. Because of their tendency to hear from authorities, Hare Krishna.
Through knowledge, some seek through karma, right? Some will try to cultivate this knowledge of Paramatma with faith. They have, and eventually they evolve to the level of absolute knowledge of Krishna. So ultimately, only a devotee of the Lord can have full spiritual understanding that Krishna is the supreme God. He is present in Paramatma as everyone. But in this verse 26, Krishna is saying there are some people, even if they don't understand this knowledge, they don't understand, they still get to the point of worshipping the Supreme Lord by hearing about the Supreme Lord from others. So understanding the Supreme Lord by listening as we keep saying, the process of hearing is the best way to learn about Krishna. So some people might just come to some random classes here, there, and then they get interested and then they want to learn more. So this way, just by hearing, is surpass the cycle of life and death due to the faithful hearing from authoritative persons. This verse especially applies to the modern society. Many a times in our modern society, people are not very spiritually educated, right? Some of the people may appear to be atheists, some of them may pretend to be philosophers, but even actually they don't have much knowledge on the actual knowledge of philosophy of Krishna consciousness. So for a common man, simple-minded, simple-hearted, then even by chance, if they hear about Krishna Katha, then they have hope of advancing by the process of hearing. But the process of being simple-hearted is very important. This hearing process is very important. Okay, so Lord Chaitanya, who preached Krishna consciousness in the modern world, gave a lot of stress on the process of hearing, because if a common man simply hears from authoritative sources, he can make quick progress, especially according to Lord Chaitanya. If one constantly hears the transcendental vibes of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. If one hears this transcendental vibration, then he will understand the knowledge of the super soul. So it is stated that Nama Sankirtana movement, actually they'll be able to understand this absolute science of Krishna as well. So bhakti is the easiest and the best path to understand this science or knowledge. Okay, before we go ahead, just let me quickly summarize the difference between Paramatma and Jivatma. So few similarities are both of them are eternal, they are unborn and spiritual being. Both of them are spiritual being. But what then is the difference? The super soul is a controller of Maya, while the Jivatma, conditioned soul, is under the control of Maya. Okay, super soul has many legs, hands, eyes, ears, mouth, everything. So super soul is everywhere, all pervading, while the Jivatma has just one set of hands, legs, whatever is connected to that one single body, it's just managing that one set of hands and legs. So the super soul is the maintainer, bhokta, and the Jivatma is the bhukta, the sustained. Okay, so that's how you understand the difference. Okay, before we move on, a small pastime to understand the difference between this absolute knowledge, the knowledge of the Supreme Lord. How is this different from um, okay, you're back. Okay, so can you hear me?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay.
Yes,
So
But you're
Mataji.
not sharing the screen, Mataji. We
I'll
can hear
get
you.
back to the sharing. Okay, so this Brahmana he says, can you check with Narada when I'll get my liberated from this material world? Narada says, okay. And then he again crosses a little further. Under a banyan tree, he sees a cobbler. The cobbler is also recognizes Narada and says, Narada ji, can you please check with Vishnu when I'll get liberated? Narada says, okay. So once Narada met Vishnu, he mentioned about this cobbler and Brahmana and said both of them asked when they'll get liberated. What do you say? What should I respond to them? So Krishna tells this Brahmana, I don't know, he's not going to be liberated anytime soon. Tell him that I don't know when he's going to get liberated. Okay. But to the cobbler, you can tell that he's going to be liberated very soon in this life itself. So Narada is very confused. Why Brahmana is living a very sattvic life? He's doing his Sandhya Vandana rituals, but the cobbler is just doing some material work. So how do we know that cobbler? So Vishnu said, okay, tell him this. When they ask you what Vishnu was doing, tell them that Krishna, he was passing through the eye of the needle. He was trying to pass an elephant. And see how they respond to that situation. Okay. So Narada said, okay, I'll put that situation to them and I'll find the answers. So first he met the Brahmana this time. And he said, what was Vishnu doing? What did he tell? So Narada said he was actually passing this elephant through the eye of the needle. And when the Brahmana heard this, he said, what is this? What is all this concocted stories you're doing? Like Vishnu does not have any other work to do. How can anyone pass an elephant through the eye of the needle? Don't lie to me. So he abused Narada this way and said, thank you, I don't want to deal anything with you. Then he went to the cobbler. He tells the same thing to the cobbler, that that Lord Vishnu was passing the elephant through the eye of the needle. And the cobbler, listening to this, he said, my Lord is very great. He's very merciful. He can do anything he wants. Narada is saying, but you believe that the Lord was actually passing the elephant. It's even possible to do that. So the cobbler said, I'm sitting under this tree and a lot of seeds keep falling every day. And within each seed, it can is another 100 banyan trees. So if you can believe that from the small seed, 100 banyan trees can come, why can't I believe that my Lord can do anything he wishes? He can pass an elephant through an eye of the needle. He can manage all the planets and in the space without any support. He can do that. He can do all that. So how difficult is it for the Lord to pass an elephant through the eye of the needle? So Narada, he understood when he was saying this that the actual essence of bhakti is our faith in the Lord. Sometimes some things that we hear about the Lord, it seems like, this is not possible at all. Like how can the Lord himself come and protect us? He's saying so many things in Gita that do this, do that, you'll come back. But the actual thing is that we need to have faith that the Lord will do what he's saying. So that faith is very important. It's not about how much you have read, how much shlokas you can chant, how many Vedas scriptures. No, ultimately, even a person with a little faith but who has not even read any scriptures book, if they have complete faith that the Lord will take care of us, that faith is what transcends us, and that is what pleases Krishna. So that knowledge that we are talking about, the knowledge is good, but the knowledge should be centered around Krishna. Just getting material knowledge about, this is body, this is segment of how the body looks, this knowledge is also good. But ultimately, we should have faith that Krishna is the one who is managing all these bodies, the subtle bodies, the soul. Krishna is the one. So if that kind of faith comes within us, then Krishna will definitely take us back to Krishna Loka. So with that, we end our chapter 13. To summarize, Arjuna is asking 6 questions. He's asking, what is the Kshetra, Kshetragna, Prakriti, Purusha, Jnana, and Jneyam? And in answer, Krishna has explained how the body is non-permanent and is made of 24 elements called the field of activities and how they interact with each other. Okay, and then further, Krishna explains the object of knowledge. The object of knowledge, the science of Kshetra, Kshetragna, Jnana, Jneyam is fully understood only by the devotees, Mad Bhaktaha. So Krishna explains Prakriti Purusha and their union after this. So all good, bad events occur in anything bad or good is happening only to the body. It's not happening to the jiva. Supreme Lord is never entangled like an ordinary person. Okay, only the jiva gets entangled in material. Supreme Lord transcends material nature. So bhakti is finally summarized in this chapter is the easiest and the best part to understand the sides. Okay, and this verse from Krishna Namashtakam verse 6 says, "O holy name, you are manifest in two forms. The Supreme Person described by the holy name and the sound vibrations of the holy name. We know that the second form is even more merciful than the first, because although a person may commit many offenses to your first form, he will still plunge into the ocean of bliss by serving your second with his voice. So the significance of chanting the holy name is mentioned over here. Now with that, I request all of you to put yourself off mute and let's quickly chant 3 times Maha Mantra together loudly. Okay,
Hare Krishna.
Already? Okay, let's start. Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama, Rama
Rama
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
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 Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Hare,
Hare,
Hare
Hare Rama, Hare
Rama
Rama, Rama
Rama,
Rama,
Rama
Hare
Rama
Rama
Hare.
Rama,
Rama
Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
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 Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
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 Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Hare,
Krishna,
Hare
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 Hare,
Hare,
Hare
Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama
Rama
Hare
Rama,
Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare.
Jai. Thank you. I'm open to questions. Do you have any questions? Any questions?
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna.
Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
I have a question. Like, is a intuition power or sixth sense sometimes? So this will fall in which category?
Can you please repeat the question, Prabhu?
Yeah, like we have sometimes we say that someone has an intuition power or someone has a sixth sense. So just wanted to understand in today's session,
Or
it
sixth
will
sense,
fall
like
under,
intuition.
it will fall in which category?
Sixth sense doesn't fall in any of these categories. Maybe mind, because your intuitions come from mind ultimately. But it's not a category on its own.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
You see
Thank you.
that? Because your intuitions ultimately come from your experience. It comes from your past dealings with nature. So intuitions come from there, or your intelligence maybe at some level.
Ultimately, intelligence only. Yeah.
Did you get the, sorry, your voice
Yeah,
is a little
yeah,
muffled.
good. I got the answer. Thank you.
Okay.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji, you were basically explaining the soul, subtle body, and gross body, showing it through like 3 circles. So we understand the size of gross body, and also you explained the very first chapter, the size of soul as well. So my question is basically, what is the size of subtle body?
It's almost the size of your thumb, Prabhuji.
Thumb. So it's visible, Mataji?
No, subtle body is not visible. But it's like the soul is not visible. The subtle body is also not visible. If subtle body was visible, then that means it's got a form. No, subtle body does not have a form. That's why we don't see ghosts. We don't see subtle entities that roam around in the house, right? Because
Sure,
they don't
Mataji.
have a body.
Yeah, I was of the impression like maybe because of the very small size of soul, we
Can't see
do
it.
not see
But
it.
even the
Yeah.
subtle body, it's not visible, but it's defined by acharyas that it's the size of a thumb.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Also, Mataji, we did not receive the quiz for yesterday. You were explaining at the beginning. It was not posted on the group. I'm not sure because I missed
It
it.
was
Maybe.
posted on the group, Prabhuji. At least 30 odd people have responded on that group.
Maybe I missed it because I could see a different form.
Maybe that. Yeah, but it was posted.
Okay. So sorry, Mataji.
No issues. You can still take the quiz.
Sure.
Even for me, it's not there. Even for me, it's not there.
It is posted on the group, Prabhuji.
No, WhatsApp group, it was not posted, Mataji. WhatsApp group.
It was posted, just that after that we got the other link. So quite possibly if you scroll up, you'll find it.
Okay.
The other question was there, but not the quiz.
Yeah, that's what
Hare
I was
Krishna
also wondering.
Mataji. Hare Krishna
Hare Krishna.
Mataji.
Yes,
Just
Kalyani
a small
Mataji.
clarification, Mataji. You were alluding to the situation wherein the soul alone goes to Goloka when it leaves the body. So it leaves the material body as well as the subtle body and reaches Goloka.
Correct.
But if the person has to get a next life, the subtle body goes along with the soul into the next body, right?
So if the next life Goloka does not come into picture, if you're going to take birth again and again, then you're still in the material living.
You're
So
in the
yes,
material.
subtle body and soul passes together
To the next body. But
to
if
the
it has
next
to go
body.
to Goloka, the subtle
Then the
body is
subtle
left
body
here.
is dropped. Yes.
Okay, Mataji. Thank you
Yes.
so much.
And in fact, as you go higher and higher, your body gets more subtle. Like the body of the people in Swargaloka is subtle, but the people in, say, Maharloka, Satyaloka, Brahmaloka, it's more subtler than that.
Yes,
See that?
Mataji.
Okay.
Yes, I remember you touching upon this subject. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Somebody asked a question in the chat that what is the difference between Yogamaya and Mahamaya? And then you explained the answer in the chat. But in this book named Sri Krishna Bhagavan, it said that Yogamaya is also called as Durga. But in the answer in the chat, you told Yogamaya is called Radha, and then Mahamaya is called Durga.
Is explained in what book, Prabhu? Durga.
Sri Krishna Bhagavan.
Sorry, what was explained in the book you said?
Yogamaya's name is
What is
also
explained
known
there?
as Durga.
Yogamaya is also Durga, you said. Okay. Can you share the chapter details with me, Prabhu? I can read up that detail. But as said by Prabhupada in many instances, Yogamaya is the internal potency of Krishna, who is nothing but Radharani herself. And she controls all the devotional activities, all the activities around Krishna's appearance, disappearance, all his activities are controlled or managed by Yogamaya. Okay, so she's Radharani, and Maya Devi is his external potency, external or inferior potency, and that is Durga Devi. Okay, in some way you can say she's Radharani also, because all Devis are extensions of Radharani herself. They are expansions of Radharani. In some sense, you can say that Durga is also the expansion of Radharani, just like Saraswati, any other goddesses. They are all expansions of Radharani. So that sense, maybe in some context, it's mentioned that it's the Mahamaya is also Radharani, but we have a name for her, that Durga Devi, and she manages the material activities of Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Okay, any other questions? Okay, if not, we'll end the class for today. I am extremely sorry about the technical issues of from today. And we'll try to see if we can get it fixed before class tomorrow. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyaeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo. Hare Krishna.
Mataji, we are also
Hare
sorry
Krishna,
for
Mataji.
bothering you again and again.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Thank you.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna
Thank you,
Mataji,
Mataji.
Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Mataji.
Krishna.
Dandavat
Hare
Pranam.
Krishna,
Thank
Mataji.
you,
Dandavat
Mataji.
pranam.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. It was a
Hare
wonderful
Krishna
class.
Mataji. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna Mataji. Dandavat Pranam, Mataji.
Thank you so
Hare
much,
Krishna,
Mataji.
Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna.
Mataji. Dandavat Pranam. Thank you.
Dandavat pranam.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Dandavat Pranam, Mataji. Thank you.
Dandavat pranam. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Ending the call for everyone.